My parents forced me to give my $5,000 inheritance to my sister for her business, and she rubbed it in my face with photos from her launch party. So I decided to get revenge. Hey guys, so I'm a 17-year-old girl, and a couple of months ago I was basically forced to hand over the money I inherited from my grandmother to my older sister Connie so she could chase her business dreams. Connie is 6 years older than me, and she's always bullied me for no reason except that she can. My parents always brushed it off, telling me I was just being sensitive. But now, I get that they were just gaslighting me into thinking this was normal sibling behavior. Spoiler, it wasn't. Growing up, Connie was cruel, and my parents never stood up for me. One horrible incident when I was 13 really stuck with me. We were at the beach, and Connie brought some friends along who were just as mean as she was. They were always making fun of me, and I decided to take a break by sitting alone on the pier. Next thing I know, there's a plastic bag over my head, and I'm kicked into the water. While I flailed around trying not to drown, I saw Connie and her friends running away, laughing. I managed to pull the bag off and swim back to shore. But when I told my parents, they just laughed it off as a prank. They even joked about my swimming lessons finally paying off. That was the last straw for me. I decided then and there that I couldn't trust any of them. My only focus became to study hard, get into college, and get away from these people. Fast forward to a few months ago, our grandmother passed away and left me and Connie $5,000 each. Plus, I got a sapphire ring because I once told her I liked it. My plan was to save the money for my future. But my parents insisted I give it to Connie for her business. When I refused, my dad threatened not to pay for my college tuition and even said I couldn't come back home once I left. Scared and stressed with finals coming up, I caved and gave Connie the money, just for some peace and quiet. So here I am, stuck living with my parents and having to play nice. At least they let me keep the sapphire ring, probably not realizing it's real. My grandma only described it as the ring with the blue stone in her will, but I know what she meant. So I kept my trap shut, because what I had was worth a lot, and it actually worked out for me in the end. I ended up giving up the $5,000 my grandma gave me to put an end to a big argument. Fast forward 3 months, I got accepted into my dream college. I'm starting in just a couple of weeks. My parents are sticking to their word and covering all my costs, from tuition to living expenses since I'll be out of state. So, sacrificing that $5,000 doesn't seem so bad now because my money worries for college are basically non-existent. Everything's been smooth sailing for me, but I can't shake off this guilt. See, my sister Connie just had a launch party for her new store. She's teamed up with her old college buddies. These are the same girls who, for a laugh, once pushed me into the sea with a plastic bag over my head. Now, they've opened a big store for shoes and accessories. Honestly, the stuff is pretty basic, but they think they're revolutionizing the fashion world. They've got a bunch of guys agreeing with them, so I'm sure their friends will be shopping there too. Connie might have had a shot at a successful career, but I kind of messed that up after she sent me photos from the launch party, just to rub it in. I wasn't invited. My parents said it was an adults-only event, and since I'm 17, I couldn't go. Total BS, but I didn't want to go anyway. Anyway, the day after the party, Connie sent me even more photos and a text bragging about how fabulous it was, and reminding me that it was my $5,000 that helped her. That really pissed me off. When I saw this one guy in the pics, I had to check my gallery to be sure. Yep, it was her high school ex, Simon. He was dating her right after she turned 18, even though he was 25. Super creepy, right? They met online when she was 16, and he asked her out on her 18th birthday. My parents thought it was gross too, and didn't want her seeing him, but she dated him secretly anyway. Simon used to work at his dad's company, but after 8 months, they broke up because his dad caught him stealing and shipped him off to work on a farm in Wyoming. Connie was shattered and begged our dad to give Simon a job here so they wouldn't have to break up, but Dad was having none of it. He made her block Simon and promised never to speak to him again. Our house was a war zone that day. Connie was crying and begging, Dad was yelling, and Mom just cried. As usual, I was told to stay in my room, but I remembered Simon's face, And when I saw him in those launch party pics, I got mad. No one really saw me as part of the family during their business discussions, so I knew a lot about what was going on. For example, Connie's friend's parents needed a lot of convincing to invest in the store. One friend's single mom was especially skeptical and wanted her daughter to get work experience first. But Connie and her friends were hell-bent on making the store work, so after hearing endless complaints about this mom, I decided it was time for a little revenge. So, here's the deal. My sister and her two friends had this plan. They'd start a business, and if things took off, the third friend's mom would chip in some investment. But for that to happen, they needed to crush it in the first few months because they only had enough cash to last a couple of months. After that, they'd need more money unless, by some miracle, they made enough dough to survive on their own. But let's be real. Making it big in the fashion industry that fast when you're small scale? Yeah, not gonna happen. The last mom holding out just needed a tiny excuse to back out, and I knew something that could push her over the edge. So I reached out to her using a fake Facebook account and asked her to call me. I didn't give her my number because, duh, I wanted to stay anonymous. It took her a couple of hours to call. She probably thought it was a scam, but curiosity got the better of her. When she did call, I spilled all the tea about what I saw and who this shady guy in the photos was. At first, she didn't believe me, but I managed to convince her that my job was just to warn her. After that, it was her call whether to invest or bail. I hung up, sent a few pics of Connie and this guy Simon from the past, and left it to her. She decided to back out, and even told her daughter to do the same. Ever since that call, things have been pretty intense. No one knows I'm behind all of this, but Connie's been freaking out, calling our parents to try and get the mom to come back on board. Her friends are mad at her because she kept Simon's identity a secret. He's now her boyfriend again, by the way. She lied about who he was so no one would recognize him. Even our parents are upset, which never happens, so it's a big deal. To sum it up, Connie's in deep trouble. Everyone's pissed at her, and while I thought I'd enjoy the chaos, I just can't. This business meant a lot to her, and maybe what I did was a bit too petty. Our parents were talking about how disappointed they were, and they're even considering pulling their investment because she broke their trust. If that happens, she's really screwed because they never get mad at her. So yeah, am I the jerk for messing up my sister's potential investor deal because she bullied me as a kid? Update 1. Thanks to everyone who responded to my post with advice. You guys are right. I have too much of a conscience to enjoy this. I'm keeping my mouth shut about what I did, because if my parents ever found out, they'd probably throw me out of the house. I'm turning 18 soon, and there'd be nothing stopping them. Plus, I need their money for college, so I really can't afford to make them mad. It's been a week since I posted, and things have gone even more downhill for Connie. The mom who backed out convinced her daughter to do the same, so now it's just Connie and one other friend. But this friend is super mad and wants to change the business shares to 60/40 because she doesn't trust Connie anymore. She found out that Simon, Connie's secret boyfriend, had stolen from his dad's company. Connie had lied and said she met Simon on a dating app a few months ago, but no one's buying that story anymore. She even tried to say the photos of her and Simon were photoshopped, but that didn't work either. Now, Connie's been visiting our parents every day, and they're scolding her but still trying to help. They meet with their lawyer every evening, trying to figure out a way for Connie to keep her shares. There's a strong chance they might have to shut down the business if they can't resolve this quickly. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but honestly, I've decided not to think about it. The only good thing is that nobody's paying attention to me. I'm doing whatever I want, and it's awesome. No one's asking me what I'm up to, and even Connie ignores me because she's so wrapped up in her mess. My parents are too busy with her to worry about me, so I'm just enjoying my last few weeks at home before college. I can come and go as I please, and it's been great. Even if I spend more time at a friend's place than at home, no one notices or cares. So yeah, that's how things are going. So I'm really hoping that everyone leaves me alone until I'm ready to head off to college. I'm also crossing my fingers that this whole mess doesn't make my parents decide against paying for my college expenses. That just hit me while typing this out. If it does impact their decision, I'm totally screwed. At least I can find some comfort in knowing that Connie has it worse than me, I guess. Update. Nearly 2 weeks have passed since my first post, and up until last week, nothing really happened regarding me, so I thought I was in the clear. But nope, not anymore. A couple of days ago, the woman I called finally cracked under pressure and told Connie how she found out about her past connection. She didn't spill the whole story, just said she'd gotten an anonymous call and some photos. Connie isn't even pretending anymore. Everyone's figured out she didn't meet this guy on a dating app, and those pictures were definitely real. Anyway, yesterday Connie came over, and I had the bad luck of being downstairs because I was heading out to meet a friend. Next thing I know, she storms in and shoves me as hard as she could. I lost my balance and my temper, so I shoved her right back. Then she grabbed my hair and started screaming that she knew I was the one who made the call and that I was going to pay for it. I panicked, but kept my cool so she wouldn't get suspicious. I yelled back, claimed it wasn't me, and said I wouldn't even know who to call because I'd only met her friend's parents once. Total lie, but I tried to sell it. Our parents broke us apart after we screamed at each other for a bit. Connie was convinced I'd wrecked her chances at a business career and demanded to go through my phone and laptop. I was ready for this, but still acted outraged to avoid suspicion. I wasn't worried. I'd wiped everything clean. She thought I'd used my phone number, but I'd actually used a fake Facebook account and deleted it afterward. So, when she and my parents searched everything, they found zilch. That didn't stop Connie from freaking out, accusing me of wiping my devices on purpose. I argued back, saying she was losing it over her failing business and had no right to blame me. Things eventually calmed down, and she started crying. I thought I was off the hook, but then my parents said they believed Connie anyway. Since they couldn't think of anyone else who knew about Simon, they decided it had to be me. So, they told me they were canceling their plan to pay for my college. I lost it, screaming, crying, begging for half an hour, but they were rock solid. Nothing I said made a difference. Eventually, defeated, I went back to my room and started writing this update to get my mind off things. I still have the sapphire ring my grandmother left me, thinking about selling it to cover college, but it might not be enough for all 3 years. So, I'm looking into student loans and finding a cosigner since the payment deadline is coming up fast. I just can't risk missing it. Update 3. A lot has happened since my last update a month ago. I left my parents' place a couple of days after the last post because, without their financial support for college, there was no reason to stick around. I packed my bags and moved in with a friend. I had already discussed it with her. So, my friend told me I could move in with her and her family since she was on a gap year. After staying with them for a few days, she and her parents mentioned that she wanted to start working at her dad's business instead of going to college. Turns out, she never really wanted to go to college in the first place, but her parents had a college fund set aside for her. They said I could use it for now. At first, I tried to decline, but they convinced me. They've known me for ages and said it was like sending their own daughter to college. Honestly, I couldn't say no to such an amazing offer, so I accepted. Now, I'm on campus and didn't even have to sell my grandmother's ring, which I'm super grateful for. Huge thanks to my friend and her parents. As for Connie, things didn't go so well for her. She ended up selling all her shares of the family business, and now her friends own the store completely. She had to walk away because no one could trust her anymore. Unfortunately, my parents couldn't do anything about it since it was out of their hands. She's probably pretty upset since it was her idea to begin with, but in a way, she should feel relieved because I don't think the store is going to do well in the long run. But hey, that's none of my business since I'm not in touch with her anymore. I'm just going to focus on my own future now.